All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something absolutely crucial, the student consultation. We're going to break down how you can turn those standard, everyday meetings into really pivotal, positive experiences that can honestly shape a student's entire path forward.
So, let me ask you something. What's the real difference between a good student meeting and a truly great one? It sounds like a simple question, right? But the answer is a total game changer. It's the difference between just checking a box and actually forging a real connection. And that's not just about getting an application. It's about building a solid relationship right from the very first chat.
I want you to picture this in your head for a minute. Every single consultation is like a fork in the road. One path, that's the one that builds trust, connection, and opens doors. The other one, well, that's the one that creates distance and puts up walls. And honestly, it's way too easy to end up on that path by accident. So today, we're going to map out the path to genuine connection.
So, how do we actually build that bridge? Well, it's not magic. It's a series of really intentional actions. Let's start breaking them down one by one.
First up, and this is the big one, active listening. Now, I know it sounds super basic, but this is the foundation for everything else. The goal here isn't to just patiently wait for your turn to speak. No way. It's to genuinely hear and understand the person sitting across from you. When you interrupt or just talk over them, you're sending a pretty loud message. My agenda is way more important than what you have to say. But when you truly listen, you're telling them, hey, I hear you, you matter. And this flows right from listening. Once you've actually heard what a student is all about, their hopes, their worries, you can personalize the entire conversation. You can stop giving the generic one-size-fits-all pitch and start connecting their specific dreams to what your university actually offers. And just like that, it's not a monologue anymore. It's a real dialogue about their future.
You know, trust is so hard to build and so easy to lose. Being upfront and honest about everything, the good, the bad, the fees, the tough requirements, that's how you build a solid foundation. Making these wild, exaggerated promises might get you a little bit of excitement in the short term, but believe me, it completely tanks your credibility in the long run.
At the end of the day, remember this. Students connect with people, not with walking, talking scripts. Just using their name, having a warm and friendly tone, and actually reacting to what they're saying. It makes you a human guide, not just some automated brochure. A robotic delivery builds a wall. Being approachable invites them right in.
Okay, let's just pause and look at this quote for a second, because this is just a masterclass in empathy. The first part, I understand fees can be a concern, that validates their feeling. It doesn't brush it off. It says, I see you. And then the second part, let me explain scholarship options. It immediately pivots from just acknowledging the problem to actively providing a solution. That, right there, is empathy in action.
Ultimately, the absolute strongest bridge you can build comes from providing real, tangible value. This is about more than just being friendly. It's about being genuinely helpful. When you lay out deadlines clearly, when you talk about real career paths, and when you guide them step by step through a confusing process, you become an essential partner for them.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about what to do, but it's just as important, maybe even more important, to know what not to do. So let's dive into some of the most common communication traps that create that distance we were talking about earlier.
This one is a huge rapport killer. Look, a student might be feeling really insecure about their grades or their background. If they feel even this slightest hint of judgment from you, I promise you, they will clam up instantly. Empathy, like we just saw, is all about getting on their side of the table. Being judgmental forces them to get defensive, and that is the exact opposite of building a connection.
The whole point of a consultation should be to make things clear, not to give them a pop quiz. I get it. It is so tempting to just dump every single piece of information you know onto them. But overloading a student just leads to confusion and, honestly, a lot of anxiety. The right way to do it is to give them information in structured, bite-sized pieces that actually empowers them instead of overwhelming them.
And finally, let's talk about the follow-up. This is where you can either be super helpful or super pushy, and there's a fine line. Helpful follow-ups add value, sending reminders about deadlines or a link to a resource they asked about. Pushy follow-ups are all about, have you applied yet? Are you ready to commit? One builds the relationship, the other can completely shatter it by making the student feel like they're just another sale.
Okay, we've looked at the good path and the bad path. Now, let's pull all of this together into a super simple, actionable checklist that you can use to make sure you're always building that bridge. So here it is, 7 key things you can do to build amazing rapport. Every single one of these points back to the same core idea.
You've got to put the student, their needs, their goals, their worries, right at the very center of the conversation. Just think of this as your personal roadmap for every single meeting.
And really, this all boils down to a fundamental shift in your mindset. If you go into a consultation thinking of it as a transaction, you're going to fall into all those traps we talked about. But if you see it as a chance to open a door for someone, to literally help guide them to the next chapter of their life, your entire approach changes. You stop being a salesperson and start being a partner.
And that's what this is all about, right? Turning these ideas into actual action. So as we wrap up, I want you to really think about that. In your very next student meeting, what is the one small change you are going to make? It doesn't have to be some massive overhaul, just one thing. Will you focus on asking just one more question? Or maybe personalizing your advice a little bit more? Because that one small change, it can truly make all the difference.